Alright guys, so we're going to work on the Arrma Senton Mega here. Headed out for the first run guys, and I had two problems. I had some noise coming from the drivetrain, and I had a little bit of servo troubles. So the servo was just, seemed like it was kind of hanging up, turning, I think it was right. I would turn right and it would just drag a little bit, and it was intermittent guys, and either a little bit of crud got in there, or perhaps the servo saver is not working quite properly. It's possible that there's a problem with the servo guys, but that was literally the first run and I didn't do anything harsh to it, so it'll be really disappointing if it's the servo. So we're gonna take those two things apart and see what we're dealing with. So first things first, we're gonna pull out the drive shaft. And I find the front part is actually kind of hard to get loose, guys. There we go. Don't cut yourself. And then we're going to pull out the gearbox. And I just stick this screwdriver underneath, and it's not quite fitting today. Oh, gotta lift it up a little bit. Don't compress the suspension, right? So you just pull up a little bit, not too hard. Oh, shit. Oops. Alright, now we gotta undo the block. Alright guys, this block just holds the transmission in place. There's a little bit of crud trapped in there, so we'll shake that out. Alright, pry up on this a little bit. I find that to be the hardest thing, guys, and it's just tricky to get the leverage you need to get this thing loose. Yeah, it's loose. And then actually one of the things you can do is you can pry on a little bit in here. There we go, now we're getting it. The more crud you get in the car, guys, the more this starts to get sticky. And it's a bit of an adventure just getting it out of the car at the best of times. As you can see, lots of crud got in there, guys. Alright guys, now I'm going to go out on a limb and say the gear mesh was indeed most likely too tight. And the downside to this setup, guys, is that you can see the spur gear, the slipper here, you know, without it being anchored on this end, there's a little bit of play there, guys, and it, you know, you're not going to be 100% sure if you got that gear mesh just right. It would actually be really nice to have an inspection cover so that you could look in there, guys. If you had an inspection cover here, you could take it off, check the gear mesh, make sure it's just perfect, guys. And that's one of the reasons I kind of like the fixed setup that's in the 4S cars, or well, the previous generation cars, where you had holes for the particular pinion, and you would set it up specifically, guys. So yeah, I'm gonna say that's probably a little too tight. That mesh was a little too tight. That's why it was kind of noisy, guys. All right. Alright, so all you do, guys, if your pinion's been Loctited, you warm it up with a soldering iron. Get some heat into it. I'm counting to roughly 30, 40, something like that. You don't have to go crazy, guys. You'll know if you got it warm enough. So let's give it a go here. Nope. You want to make sure your Allen wrench is nice and snug, guys. Very little play in that one. Yeah, there we go. All Allen wrenches are not created equal. Yeah, that's a little warm, guys. It's not hot, a little warm. Be careful. We're going to apply some fresh Loctite to this grub screw. And this has, you'll notice this pinion has a hole for a small grub screw and a hole for a big grub screw, so that's kind of nice. Gives you options if you lose one or something goes wrong. Go way too far back. Well, let's see, that's bang on. Alright. That takes care of that. All I'm doing here, guys, is I know this was slightly too tight before, so I'm just trying to adjust it ever so slightly looser. Let's see how well I did. Alright, let's see. How'd we do? Too loose. Too loose. Alright, that feels pretty good. Alright guys, so we fiddled. Tiny little bit of play there, guys. Now we're going to put the other end on. Like so. together. Yeah, we can feel just a tiny bit of play there, guys. You can just feel a little bit of play. I'm going to call that acceptable. Alrighty. Alright guys, if you like your power tools, always start your threads by hand to make sure that you're not stripping anything. And if you want to power them in, I always power them in like 90%, not quite all the way, and then do the last little bit by hand. And if you blip it, you won't overdo it. Alright, I think we're okay. Alright, and I think we can clearly see, guys, that by the amount of crud that was in there, you want to clean out your car periodically, because that was one relatively short run, guys, and it got really dirty really fast. So you definitely want to pay attention. You're going to remove the ESC. Actually, let's leave that. We're going to undo the whole power system. That's the easier way to go with these things, guys. Or sorry, we're going to undo the electronics assembly. My bit for this this size is totally worn out, guys. It's in rough shape. I got some new ones coming that hopefully will be good. But for now, we'll just undo these the hard way. Well, there's nothing in there. If you're having servo troubles, number one thing to check is the actual steering. See if it's smooth. Does it hang up anywhere? And this does not. And this is a new car, guys, so you would not expect to be having problems. But when you get something that's been built by somebody else, you just never know. So we're checking. Boy, oh boy, everything's nice and tight. It sure seems like everything's working okay. Alright. That means, oh, that's kind of tight. Look at that. That's really stiff, guys. I mean, you can't see. I'm moving it real easy, but that's actually stiff. Oh, that might be the problem. Boy, it's like a bit of a head scratcher. It shouldn't be. Let's try loosening this up a bit. Just a hair. Hair more. Alright guys, I pulled the antenna wire in a little bit because I didn't want that rubbing on the servo saver. Anytime you have a wire that's right next to a moving part, you want to make sure it's not rubbing. We're going to use this ESC. So we'll hook it up. And it doesn't fit. Oh, this has one of those tabs on it, guys. Alright. Boy, I was about to get annoyed with Arrma. This CSC has one of these little tabs on it that it's a polarity thing, guys. So there you can see it keeps you from screwing things up, but it also keeps you from plugging it into an ESC that doesn't have a spot for that. Hopefully we didn't wreck it. And I got a little too close cutting that off, but it should still work. It's not going to touch anything. Alrighty. Yeah, and there we go. Now we can plug it in. And with these boxes, this is the hardest part. Getting the wires where they need to be. It's actually kind of annoying, guys. If you got a trick for this, by all means share. I do not. In my experience, it's fiddling around trying to get the wire in there, and then once it goes, it's not so bad. See, once you get it in there, not so bad. And we put the cover back on, like so. And I'm just going to tape the CSC in place with two-sided tape. And I'm thinking. Probably this way is going to be the easiest. We'll screw the cover back down. There we go. And it's going to sit a little cattywampus there. We want to make sure it's sitting flat, guys. And I want to try this tape. Alright. So tack off a piece. We shall see. Oops. It seems pretty sticky. It might not stay. Alright, should be good enough for now. That's fairly tight, guys. I don't think any of the other linkage is that tight. Yeah, it's the ball, guys. The ball. The ball in this end is very snug. Trying to work a little grease in there, guys. I'm guessing this would loosen up over time, but based on the fact that I had some problems with the steering, when in doubt, guys, clean everything. Make sure there's no crud in there. And then put her back together and cross your fingers. We shall see. Alright, that's a little better. Definitely not quite as stiff as it was. Alright guys, whenever you're putting stuff together, where there's a servo, you want to power it up and have that servo at neutral. Okay, so the way Arrma sets these things up, guys, very handy. There's instructions right here. You're supposed to line up your servo saver with this notch right here, guys, so it's super easy. Alright, so you put your servo saver on, and we have it at neutral right now. It's lined up with the notch, very close, guys. Perfect. That's all you gotta worry about. Really easy. They make it very nice, guys. Now let's thread this screw in. So we'll turn this off. And we'll put everything back together. The only screw that's different, guys, is the one that goes into the steering linkage. Alright, pro tip, guys, anytime you have a screw that might be a little bit difficult to get at, never put everything together. Put just enough to hold it, and then and there you go. Bit of an adventure finding the hole that goes into, guys. So I always, that's got a lock, a nylon lock nut there, guys. So all you want to do is thread it in all the way and then back it off like 1/8 of a turn, just enough to crack it loose to make sure nothing's binding, guys. First one I put in, guys, it did feel like it didn't, it felt like it might have been over torqued at the factory. Not the end of the world, guys. Yeah, these ones are much more, they're hitting their bottoms in a very positive fashion. That first one didn't. All it takes, guys, is when you're in the factory, you're using a power screwdriver. And all it takes is for that setting to be wrong. Oh no, it just wasn't at the bottom, guys. Okay, all good. No criticism of Arrma. Like a charm. It was before too, guys, so we'll see. Maybe there is something wrong with that servo. We'll find out. We will find out. Alright, last but not least, pop this bad boy in there. There we go. Alright, and that's it guys, all good and back together.